Hi everyone, welcome to your weekly edition of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Lauren Urbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Now every Tuesday at noon I like to pop on and post a video for you with a project that I've been working on, something that you can either copy with me and I'll give you all the measurements, or you can modify it with whatever supplies you have too. That's the fun of crafting. It doesn't have to all look the same, but we can still gather together and have a good time. So it's February 2025 and I figured might as well keep on the Valentine's tradition because we've got adorable little bees that are available both in our annual catalog and our online exclusives in a couple different forms. Now I'll explain that in a second, but before I go any further, I do want to tell you that today, which is Tuesday, February 4th, Stampin' Up did add some items to the celebration promotion and to the last chance items. So if you want to check those out, you can head to my website, laurenurbonis.stampinup.net. There's extra items that you can earn for free when you spend $75 this month. The original items, of course, are all exclusive. You can't purchase them anywhere, but the ones that were added today are in fact catalog items, and one of them is the adorable little bee punch. Now you'll notice this one is wrapped. That is because I actually didn't use the bee punch for this project. I used a set of dies, and I'll show you that in a second. But I want to mention also the last chance items. Those are discounted items up to 60% from online exclusive previous offerings, from the holiday catalog, and they are updated all the time, but some of those good deals do run out. So if you want to go check those out, they were just updated today. You'll earn free celebration items with every order. And if you place an order through my website, I also send you a little trio of cards that I showcase at my monthly card class for free for anyone who places a $40 or more order before shipping and tax. So that's a fun little perk for you. And of course, you would get an exclusive video sent to you next week because that's when my class is. Okay, back to our project. Now, I'm going to set this adorable little guy aside for a second. I'll keep him in there for you. Okay, now I mentioned some of these products are found in the annual catalog and some are found online. So you might remember this great little bundle here. It was called Be My Valentine, and this showed up for us, I think last year at some point. There was a great stamp set and a coordinating punch that cut out the bee and these wings. They look like hearts, which you can also use them as hearts, but they are the wings for the little bees. So this was a great set. It was cute and fun and easy to use if you didn't own a cut and emboss machine. Now, Stampin' Up decided, okay, everybody loved it. What can we add to this? So in our scrapbooking offering that came out, I want to say a couple months ago, but please don't quote me on that. They added this adorable little stamp. So you can see we have two sizes of bees now. We have a couple different faces. We have a couple different sentiments. They're a bit bigger. Then they sweetened the pot and added dies. So these hexagon dies are brand new, as well as all the dies that go with the pieces of your bees, the antennae, the wings, the bodies, and this says our hive, if you're wondering. Now, I will fully admit this bundle is marketed in our scrapbooking catalog or brochure. So the dies, the big one, for instance, does not actually fit on a regular card, or I guess it would just fit, but they're meant to go on like 12 by 12 scrapbook pages to help you design and use up a little bit of space. So the paper also, the meant to be paper, is online. You can check that out and purchase it as well. There's all different designs and patterns. Here's the honey. Here's one with a flower. I think those are the two I used for this project here. But just keep that in mind when you're purchasing this if you're a card maker, that some of these items might not be exactly what you're looking for a card, but you could always use this die to make a card which could be something that I might be showing you later on. Just a little sneak peek so that you make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to see future videos. We're going to play with that large die later. Okay, back to the dies at hand. There is also a fifth die right in here, and that's the one I chose to use for this card. You can see it works perfectly. It's a great size, and you can build your card around it. So those are the products that I used. Let's get on to the project itself. So if you want to follow along with me, I will give you all the measurements, but of course you can modify it however you need, switch up colors, switch up embellishments, switch up design even. It's up to you. All right, I'm starting out with a card base, and this is Petunia Pop. It's one of our in colors, and it is 5.5 by 8.5, and I've folded it right down the middle at 4 1/4. So we've got a nice open and check card. On the inside of my card, might as well do that right now, we're going to add a piece of basic white so you have something that you can write on. That piece of white is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4, and you can add some little adorable bees to it, or you can add just the little, I don't even know what to call this, kind of like the bee lines. Shows they were buzzing by. So I thought I would go with that on the inside just to add a little bit of character to my card. So I'm going to use Memento Black and mount that guy up. You don't have to use the whole thing, just kind of have part of it coming on and off the card. And the top and the bottom. See, so fun. You can use these other places too, but maybe your envelope. But I thought for now that would be good. Okay, on to the front of our card. I do have some of these things pre-cut because I don't like to waste your time. But just a hint, if I'm getting too far ahead of you, just hit that pause button. You can go and prep a bunch of stuff yourself and just come back and join me whenever you're ready. For our next layer, we are using Pretty in Pink. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And it has some fancy embossing. So that is the exposed brick 3D embossing folder, if you're wondering. But of course you can use just any subtle sort of background look for this. We're going to add this to our project flat. So you're going to use some tape or seal or glue, and it's going to go right on the front of your card. Now when I have piece of paper that is embossed, I do like to put adhesive all over the whole perimeter because I find embossing tends to lift the paper off a bit. Not every part of your cardstock touches, and I just don't want that happening to somebody who's getting this card. There we go. Put that right on the front. Alrighty, now we're going to need to do a little bit of die cutting. So you can put this card base aside for the moment, and I will tell you all of the pieces that you need to cut, okay? We're going to do one of these together. I've grabbed just a piece of designer series paper, and I'm going to put my little hexagon die over top here. Now the fun thing that you're going to see about these two dies is instead of just cutting one hexagon, it cuts one hexagon and a frame. So when I put this through, it's going to look exactly like this. It will come out in 2 pieces. I'll have a frame and I'll have a solid piece. So the solid one I'm going to use for the middle. The frame I'm going to use for my background, and this guy can be used on another project. Maybe something coming up in the future. But I'm going to run this through on the ground just so that I don't have to make you guys dizzy by bringing my cut and emboss machine up on the table. Give me a sec. as promised, when this guy comes out, you have one frame and one inside piece, and nothing is going to waste. So I can use that die again later for something else. Okay, we have those pieces. I'll show you how to assemble them in a second, but we might as well go ahead and do a little bit more stamping and cutting while we're at it. So for your bee, I'd like you to stamp the main body of the little bumblebee on a scrap of white paper, just like this. And then I personally find it easier to cut this bee out right now instead of stamping the black on him. Just because if I stamp the black even a little bit off, it might not fit really well in this little image, okay? So just a little trick. For me personally, it works best, but you can of course stamp your black first if you wanted to as well. But we're gonna risk it. I'm gonna cut this guy out, then we're gonna do our stamping. As we're cutting things out, I've also taken a scrap of vellum and I've embossed with white embossing powder the set of wings, so that when I cut that out with the die, I have the wings. I have stamped myself an adorable little flower with the Petunia Pop Ink and the Daffodil Delight center. All of this is coming from the Meant to Be. So there's the bee body, his little stripes, his wings, flower, flower center. And then you can add whichever face you want, of course. Those are in Memento Black. And last but not least, we need to cut out a set of antennae. And I decided not to stamp anything on that. I just cut that out from black. Okay, so I'm going to move these over to the side and cut this. Always a risk when you're doing it on camera. If you make a mistake, it's tricky. Okay, gotta line that up. My die doesn't seem to want to lie flat, which I don't love. So I'm going to take this little Post-it cover-up tape. I ordered it from Amazon. And I'm going to tape this down because I don't want it moving on me. It's just going to be one of those days. I feel it in my bones. It's like minus 30 here. So maybe my fingers are still warming up because no matter the weather, my dog still has to go out for a walk. She does not seem to care that I think it's too cold. So there we go. There's our little bee. That looks much better. We're going to grab his stripes. We're going to grab the black ink. That would be our memento. And the fun thing is you can see right through this stamp set. So I can get his little stinger and his body all in one shot. There we go. See how well that works because you can see through? But it's okay. It's just a little bit of white. If you want to do it the other way, you can always try. And his little happy face. There you go. Little bumblebee is happy. We're good to go. You will need that black later for a sentiment, but for the moment, let's start building our little bee and our honeycombs, okay? So the bee, we've got a set of wings and we've got a little antennae. Now, I'm gonna use Scotch tape, and I know that sounds weird, but we're using it on the back of this one, so we might as well just grab it and use it to attach these wings. I could sit here with Tombow liquid glue, but I always find when I'm putting glue onto vellum, it tends to spread and kind of make a little bit of a mess. So we're going to be cheeky here, and we're just going to grab a little tiny piece of Scotch tape. We're going to turn our bumblebee over, and we're going to add the wings to the back. Okay, and you just have to add a little bit of tape over at least the middle wing. If you can do the other ones, that's great. But it's clear, it won't show, and even if you're off by a little bit, it's okay. Same with the antennae. If you really wanted to, you can grab a tiny dollop of Tombow liquid glue, but it looks just fine. Nobody's going to see the back if you just add tiny little bit of tape right there. Okay, I noticed I went over by a tiny bit, so it's easy to snip that off. There we go, and no one is the wiser. There's your little bumblebee. Isn't he cute? I like him. On the back of this bumblebee, we will eventually put dimensionals, but I find that easier to do once we're working on the card. So just set him aside for a moment and let's build your hexagon. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, that's nice. You cut all these 4 pieces apart. Now what do you do? So we're actually going to take this and put it into the opposite frame. So we've got flower designer paper in the purple frame. And this is where that Scotch tape is once again going to come in handy, because we're going to just tape together 3 of the 6 sides. You don't have to do all of them. We're just going to tape together. Oh, good thing we're only doing 3. My Scotch tape is done. Told you, one of those days. There we go. Tape, 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 and tape, tape, tape. Once again, nobody can see it from the front, and it will hold your decal together very, very easily. Okay, now we can start assembling. Remember, I told you this guy you don't really need. We're gonna put him away, but don't throw it out because you can use it later for something else. Okay, so bringing this guy back, we're going to start building our card. Now here is where you will want to get a little bit of that Tombow glue, because we're going to put the back piece of our designer paper in the background. I know the flowers aren't quite the right direction because we chose to have the right direction here, and we're kind of inverting this. So if it's bothering you, you can certainly straighten it out. But I find you don't really notice with such a thin strip of paper. Nobody's gonna see. I'm just putting teeny tiny dots around my perimeter. I'm not worrying about putting dots everywhere. It will stick, don't worry, especially with the piece, the hexagon right over top of it, okay? So I'm turning this one up and putting it just in the top left of my project. 2, 3, 4, there we go. Easy. Next, we're going to add this guy, but we are putting dimensionals on that. So we're going to turn him over and put some dimensionals right in the back. There we go. So this one, it does end up almost being in the center of the card, but it is slightly nudged upwards because you want room in the bottom here to put a sentiment. So I've just kind of centered it between the 2 sides and moved it just closer to the top of my project here. Not entirely sure where I want it yet. That would be good. Okay, now remember little B, how I said he needs some dimensionals? You can put dimensionals right on the B if you want, but you need to remember that part of the B overhangs your hexagon. So if you put dimensionals kind of up by the wings and on his bottom, he might end up being a little tilted. So my little cheat for you is, instead of putting dimensionals on the B, you're going to actually just put 2 dimensionals down near the bottom left of your card here onto the pink, then you know he's not going to be a wonky little bee. Okay, there he is so far. Oh, he might need to move up a little tiny bit to put our sentiment on. Move you up. There you go. All right, now speaking of a sentiment, it is completely up to you what you use, but I'm trying to use the Meant to Be stamp set as much as I can. So I really like this Love This Life sentiment. I figured it could be a very fun little note for you to send somebody. So we've got a strip of basic white. I made mine 3 inches by 3/4 of an inch or 5/8, depending on how much white you want to show. So it's completely up to you. I'm noticing something's in my way. I don't know what it is. Is that better? Refocus. There you are. But it is up to you how big you make this piece, depending on the sentiment that you choose. So we've got our Memento Black. I'm going to stamp that right in the middle here. And you can pop this one up on dimensionals as well. Now I know you all noticed I made a black smudge down here. It's okay. I'm covering it up with the sentiment, and that is what we crafters do. You don't necessarily need to start something brand new when you inevitably get a thumbprint. You just cover it up, and nobody knows it's under there. Love this life. And I just thought, hey, we have these adorable flowers, we might as well use them. So once again, instead of putting the dimensional on the back of the flower, I'm just going to put a tiny little dimensional kind of up towards the right-hand side of this project. And I'm going to add that right there. Maybe flip it around. Flower looks so different depending on which way you put it. I like that way. Close to being finished, but not quite, because one other thing that complements this suite so perfectly is this great set of party dots. You can use whatever color combination you want, but we've got Pretty in Pink, I believe the Pool Party, but it's kind of like a mix of Pool Party and Coastal Cabana, and Daffodil Delight, of course. So whatever you'd like to use, just grab a large and 2 smalls. And you can add those to your project. And then it's done. Isn't this fun? So I'm actually going to a conference in March in Raleigh, North Carolina, with some other fellow demonstrators. And I thought this would be a fun card to do as a swap card because it showcases a lot of different products, but it's still got kind of a fun spring feel. And it doesn't actually have to be Valentine's. So I hope you enjoyed it. There we go. I will see you guys next week for another edition of Show Me How It's Done, and please let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.